Before you proceed with the setup to access the EDS Consumer and EDS Provisioning API, make sure you have access to the GUI, as it is a prerequisite to have access to the EDS API. To verify that you have access, you should see this card when you go to the GUI. How to get access to the EDS API. First, I will demonstrate how to get access to the EDS API in Sandbox, and later then how to get access to the EDS API in Live. This is all described in the EDS onboarding and registration guidelines. How to get access to the EDS API in Sandbox. Start with creating an API on developer.swift.com. Sign in. Sign in with swift.com. In the upper right corner, position the cursor above your name and then click on My Apps. Click on Create an App. Enter an app name, for example, EDS API v1. Tick the box next to EPC Directory Service API and then click on Create App. Click on the card of the app you just created. This will display the consumer key and the consumer secret. This will be used later when we will configure the API client. From here we go to the top menu Docs, then select API Guides. On the left-hand side, scroll down until you see EPC Directory Service and click on it. Now in the central screen, from the central screen, click on Run in Postman. Then click on Fork Collection. You have to log into Postman. If you don't have yet an account, you can set up an account first and then continue. Fork the collection. We now have downloaded or uploaded the collection into Postman. From here, we have to set up the consumer key and the consumer secrets that we earlier created with the app. From this starting screen, we click on Variables, and in these two places, we have to enter the consumer key and secret. Very important, click on Save. From here, you're good to go. Go to Setup and Authorization. When now you click on Send, you can request a token. Here you have a token. Now that you have a token, you can start using the APIs. For example, when we go to the Data Consumption API, we can launch a search by just doing a send here. And here you have the result. From here on, you can test the EDS APIs in Sandbox. One point that I want to make, because we are in Sandbox, under authorization body, you see that the username and the password is already hard-coded. It's called Sandbox ID and Sandbox key. Later, if you want to go in live, there will be several changes, but one of the changes will be to provide the license key and license secret. This will be entered here. How to get access to EDS API in live. There are 4 steps to follow. First, you have to submit the EDS API registration e-order. The link can be found in the documentation. When this is processed, the Swift API administrator can create the API license. This license is needed for the EDS API in live. The administrator will assign this license to a user. This user then can view the values of the license, which then can be used to configure the online API client. And the last step is that the app that was created in Sandbox environment must be promoted to live. First, I will explain how to grant the role of the Swift API administrator. First, the Swift.com administrator will search for the user to whom he wants to grant the role of Swift API administrator. Then he goes in the profile of that user to contact roles and will click on edit. Next, the Swift.com administrator search for Swift API administrator and will tick the box and save. Now the role of Swift API administrator has been granted. Next, how to submit the EDS API registration order. The link to this e-order is in the documentation. When you click on the link, this will be what you see. Some fields will be pre-filled in, such as your name. Your BIC will be selected. You can enter for your own a reference. You can also provide the email address for a backup SwiftRef user administrator. This second email address must also be registered on Swift.com because there will be a automatic check. When this is filled in, you click on continue. This will bring you to a next screen where you will have to tick the box with the terms and condition, and then you can click on submit. And this will be the final screen where you have your order reference and some information. When the e-order has been processed, the action for the API administrator is following. The administrator goes to swift.com and then to my profile. From there, he goes to admin functions and to Swift API. First action is to click on license ID creation. This will bring us to this screen. Here, a license ID name can be entered and a description. In the source table, search for EPC directory service, click on this arrow to put it in the target box, and then from here, click on create. So it will look like this, pre-filled or a name has been entered. Here we see EPC directory service, and then click on create. This brings this screen, and this screen you just have to click on save, and then the license has been created. The next step for the API administrator is to grant the license or the ownership of the license to a user, because only then the full license ID and license secret can be seen by that user. So therefore, initially, we were in this step, license ID creation. Now we are in license ID assignment. As an API administrator, you enter the email address of the user to whom you want to grant the full view on the license details. Enter the email address or a domain, and then click on search. The name will then appear here. You'll have to tick the box next to the name, and then there will be here a save button. Click on save, and now the user that you selected can see the license details. This is the screen that the user have to go. So if you have been assigned ownership of the license, you log into swift.com, you go to My Profiles, and then to Personal Information. You will see a fourth tab, which is API License ID. So here you will be able to see the license ID value and the license secret value of the EDS directory service license. Just click on show. You can copy paste these values into the client. I will now go to our screenshots of before. So the values that you find for license ID and license secret, you'll have to paste them in here. And after they have been pasted, don't forget to click on save. Next to this step, another step is to change the server from Sandbox, which is the test environment, change it to API. And click on save. With that, you have changed the environment from Sandbox to live. The last step in the setup for live is to promote the app from status Sandbox to the status of live. For that, you go to developer.swift.com, you go to My Apps, and then you click on the app you created for EDS. Click on Promote App. You get a pop-up where, again, you have to confirm to promote the app. And finally, when it is done, you will see that the status has changed to live. And also here, you went from Sandbox to live. That is a wrap-up for the EDS API section.